Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the TriPOD. In this episode we'll have a special guest with us today. He's very reluctantly just admitted that he's an SEO expert. So I think, Martyn, if you could introduce yourself. I think if you just explain what SEO is to begin with, because I think there might be people that watch that have never heard it before.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm Martyn King. I'm the Client Services Director at Root Agency here in Newcastle. So SEO is basically your best friend or your worst enemy, is how you can put it. You know, if you think about in terms of Google, if you're doing a Google search and you're searching for something, you're 9 times out of 10 going to click the first one that comes up. Now, if you think about, if you see in the little faint letters at the top of Google, it'll always say showing 1 to 10 of probably about 300,000 results. Yeah. So they essentially what you've got there is 300,000 people trying to compete for those top 10 spots on Google. Now, it's not even just the top 10, because if you think about it, whenever we went back there and we said about searching, how often do you go past the top 3? You don't. So you've now got an awful lot of people that are not in the top 3 trying to get there. The way that you end up there is through SEO. It's through search engine optimization. So they're looking at things, how your site performs, how your site looks, how people behave on your site, what's linking to your site, stuff that's going to keep people engaged, and they're constantly updating it. So it changes quite frequently, so you've always got to be ahead of the curve, and that's where SEO comes into play.
We see back in the old days, the way of doing that was calling your business like AAA and then the name to make sure you're top of the phone book. Yeah. So SEO is basically just like making sure you're top of the tree.
Essentially, that's what the internet is, isn't it? You know, we've replaced yellow pages with mobile phones. Yeah. If you need a plumber, you just go on your phone and type in plumber. Yeah. So if you're a plumber near me, well, that's what I do, but people do it differently. But if you're number 1 in the Google search in Newcastle for plumber near me, we're going to be pretty busy, but it's only going to be good for you.
And just out of interest, why do they change like this, like the what they use to put you at the top? Why does that change frequently? How frequently does that change?
It's like anything. It's probably like anything in life, where people start to rest on their laurels a bit. There was quite a big one in financial. I think it was financials a couple of months ago, where there was a lot of layoffs caused because they lost their first page position on the Google search, because the knock-on effect can be quite huge. But it's if you think about it, think of Google. What does Google actually want? Google's not there to help you. Google's not there to help anyone. What Google wants is people to keep coming back using Google. That's where Google makes their money, essentially. Right. So who does Google want at the top of either the paid listings or even the organic listings? Is the one that's going to get the most traffic and it's going to help their user out the most. That user's then going to keep coming back, keep finding what they're looking for on Google, and therefore Google's revenue stream is just going to keep on improving. Yeah. So if you can then say you're number 2 on Google, you start following similar trends as the person that's at number 1. They've then started rest on their laurels. That's your opportunity then to overtake them.
Oh, right. Okay. Interesting.
Google's always going to favour whatever one people to keep coming back to, keep using. And the classic example is just with paid advertising. If you think about it, with the Google PPC side of things, it can work a bit like a tap, where you can turn it on and turn it off.
And will that differ, sorry, your positioning, just jumping in there, will that differ to different search engines that you're on?
In terms of...
So if you're number 1 on Google, would you be number 1 on like another search engine? So
it can differ between search engines. So for example, Bing played a masterstroke whenever Bing came into this. If you notice, whenever you get a new Windows laptop, the default search engine's always Bing. Yeah. And Bing's set up to look exactly like Google. Sometimes you wouldn't even know that you're doing, Microsoft Bing. So they've played a wonder stroke in that regard, especially with the older generation too, who won't really care that much. So they'll keep using that, and that's probably Google's main competitor. The rest of them are kind of blown out the water in that respect. Personally, I only use Google for my Google searches. We're even calling it Google searches. That's just how well that's marketed. Is that you're always talking about Google and things.
Well, that's the thing. The name Google becomes a verb, doesn't it? In terms of people know what you mean.
If somebody asks you a question, or you ask someone a question, like your mates and you're messing about, and they be a bit cheeky back to you, they go Google it, don't they? They don't say Bing it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm gonna go back again to the old days, because just following on your question before about why does it change? Why does Google change what is important to how it ranks? Thinking back to the early days again, there was basically, I would call it cheating to get higher rankings. So you had things like link farms, where you could pay companies to just go and do loads of backlinks to your site to kind of artificially make it look like it's more important and there's more people going there. And it's obviously, thinking of it from a user's point of view, well, that's not what's happening at all, because the website probably isn't good at all, doesn't deserve to be there.
That was the big one. It was called Black Hat SEO. I would just started coming into the industry just after that happened. Essentially what had happened was it was a thing called a Google Penguin algorithm. It was called, they had a penguin, which was for links. I might be wrong if anybody's listening. They had, I think, a penguin for links and a panda for content, and then had a spider, which was basically the crawl. I don't know where they get these names from. But, so they did their first penguin algorithm update, and people lost their businesses overnight because people were going from page one because they had bunged in a load of spammy links. It used to be really good because, not really good, you take that bit out. People used to find it really good and effective to basically get the links from directory sites, because the likes of 118, Ask Jeeves, Yell. If you could get a backlink from one of those, because of how many people were using those sites, it was just firing a load of links in. And that was classed as spamming the site, essentially, because what you're getting is, you're getting a lot of people going on Yell for something that's completely irrelevant to you, and you're getting all the juice from it. Because you would put that on there as a follow link, and it was what was known as Black Hat SEO. As you were saying, that's what people used to do, but the ramifications of doing it was massive. People just lost their businesses because they weren't on the front page. The phone stopped ringing. And it still happens now. So that was the first one they did, and they were only doing probably about one a year, something like that. I think now there's about 3,000 odd crawls they do a year, and updates and indexing. They're just constantly running. It all runs across what's classed as the Google robot. So whenever you're on a site, have you ever heard of things like where you're putting the code in, and the code basically tells Google what language it's written in? Because Google is a robot. People tend to forget that sometimes, that whenever your website's being read, it's not being read by a person, so you can't put in there, this is in English. Everything's going to have its own unique tag, which is going to equal something else, and it's going to tell that robot that it's okay. Which is why developers and SEOs.
So there's a little bit of an arms race going on between like developers and Google type of thing.
100%, 100%. Well, it's just like anything, developers and SEOs. SEOs want to do things one way, developers want to do it their way. Normally, the SEOs create more work for the developer, so that causes a bit of conflict, and they'll be like, we don't need to do that, but then the SEO's like, you do need to do that. And it's just one of those things. It gets resolved in the end. Normally the SEO's right, but
well, SEO used to be, no offense here, by the way, Martyn. But I've heard it referred to as the dark arts.
It still is.
Well, I suppose it would be nice to hear, what are some of the basics around what you can do so that you can rank higher on search engines, and what could I do with someone that owns a website? And what would be some of the basic things that you would do if, like, first port of call to get higher rankings?
What I would say is, it'll come round to your question in a minute. But if you think years ago, you used to walk down the high street, yeah, and it was a load of shop windows, and you'd stop and you'd look in these bright shop windows. They were well lit. They were always constantly changing the shop window, because if it wasn't getting changed, you'd stop looking in it.
Uh-huh.
That's the internet.
Right.
The internet's that high street, and the website's your shop window.
Yeah.
So if you're keeping your shop window, your website refreshed,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's bright, it's clean. There's something new on that homepage all the time. It's not the same boring thing loading up.
Yeah.
People are going to keep looking, and people are going to keep shopping on it. It's
Yeah.
about capturing that attention, and then you've got your little nuances on there as well, where we come back to the high street, where people would go, oh, you put stuff on the right hand side of the shop, because naturally when people walk in the shop window, they look to the right.
Uh-huh.
So it's the same in terms of the internet as well. You're going to put stuff in locations, so that not so much SEO, but more for the CRO element, where you're going to put stuff in certain places that are hotspots within your site.
Yeah.
Where people click in, what's coming up. The most classic one I can remember from the past was working with a company that sell contact lenses, but the button on their site to proceed with payment was red. Now, whenever you think of buttons and you see a red button, you immediately associate that with danger.
That's a nuclear launch button.
Yeah. So you're like, I'm not going to press pay now on a red button.
Yeah.
All I did was change that button from red to green, and it lifted.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So it's that kind of that natural instinct, and that's where it comes into SEO, and people refer to it as the dark arts, and I think that's it's not true, because, well, I wouldn't be sitting here if it was. I'd be sat with a balaclava on or something. But people refer to it as the dark arts, probably because they're in some ways anxious, maybe a bit nervous about it, because they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose, like, in the very beginning, you'll correct me because I will be probably wrong, is that redressing that shop front window initially would have been the text, I suppose, the content of the pages, the number of pages.
Yep.
And then at some point, like, the imagery. And I think what we're going to eventually get onto is, like, the use now of SEO in video. So has that been a steady progression, or was it kind of all at once? Was the SEO part of the imagery in the video, or has there been a development as that's kind of changed and videos become more just accessible basically over the years?
Yeah, well, I think I personally find this massive shift toward video around COVID time. In terms of the SEO side of things, there was video content. As we all know, YouTube's been around an awfully long time.
Mm-hmm.
But how people were consuming their media seemed to have a massive shift during COVID.
Yeah.
The main protagonist of that was TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
If you can remember, back about, we're talking probably 10, 15 years ago, there was the original TikTok. Well, I call it the original TikTok, Vying.
Vine, yeah.
Do you remember? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what TikTok is. It's Vine with a different skin on.
Yeah.
And they absolutely hit that market at the right time. Vine was probably a bit too early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I used to love Vine. The little clips of I dropped my croissant, and those.
There was one where he was like walking through a picture frame, and he walked into the actual environment of the picture frame, and that was just the 10-second loop or whatever it was at the time that you could have.
You kept going round, didn't it?
Yeah, just lost about an hour just watching a 10-second clip. Like, when's he going to get that?
And I think that's whenever people started then hammering YouTube. If you go on YouTube now, you can watch anything you want. I've got 3 daughters. My eldest daughter, she's 13, and she just watches YouTube. They don't watch TV. Like, kids don't watch TV anymore. Obviously, I'm like 35 now, but we've got 21-year-olds in our office. For example, this girl Sophie, she won't mind me giving her a shout out, doesn't have a TV because she watches stuff on laptop. YouTube, Netflix. It's all accessible on the laptop. So it's just times have changed, and the way we consume media has changed. And that's why I think that form of YouTube SEO is going to be the next step in.
Yeah.
just it's that natural progression, and then we'll go into, AI will start taking over it and the augmented reality side of things. But obviously that's further down the line. But that's going to be the natural progression, the natural step. And I think it's just important that people are ahead of that curve. Because as we know, whenever you're behind it, it's quite easily to get left behind.
So with like YouTube, obviously you can put in the background for your videos, you can obviously put a big explanation in there. You can put all like hashtags, tags, whatever it is in YouTube. But when you record something on TikTok directly like onto the platform, if you like, how do you make that SEO? Can you do that? Can you
so
add
I think
SEO to that?
With TikTok, it more works across an algorithm. Right. I believe you can go on TikTok and you can search for things, but I think if from my own point of view, and probably I don't know about you guys, but if I was going for like an educational piece or an entertainment piece, I would go on TikTok to burn time. I wouldn't go on TikTok to like enjoyment or that entertainment side of things. I think I would go more onto YouTube for that. So I don't think it would be wise to go into TikTok from an organic perspective. If I was selling, I would probably go on to that more from a paid perspective, where you're actually putting ads in front of people and you're hitting that core audience that you want to hit. I think it would just be a bit wasteful to try and do TikTok from an organic side.
It's one of our predictions for 2025 that longer form content on YouTube is massively grown in popularity, where people are specifically searching out, like you say, something that you would traditionally watch on a television, like a documentary or educational stuff as well, DIY tutorial stuff like that.
You see it with all of them. There's a client we work with, Zinsser Paints. They have a massive following on YouTube simply because, I do it myself. Like, if you've got mold in your bathroom, you're just constantly. I've still got the mold in the bathroom, mind you, but you're constantly trying to find how to get rid of it, how to paint over it. So you're looking at videos of these professionals. I don't think any of them are actual professionals because I've still got the mold in the bathroom. But you're trying to find ways in which you can get rid of this, or you can do it. At Christmas time, I was had to change all the light sockets in the house. Because the wife decided they needed changing, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But I watched a 10-minute YouTube video, and I think I'm an electrician. So
I think was it on a podcast that you mentioned about a chap that had set up his own YouTube channel for like just doing like simple tasks around the house, like DIY that like maybe the fathers in the past would have told the sons and daughters and stuff, and
it was. He originally set it up for people who grew up without a dad, and it was things like, without patronising you, I'll like teach you how to shave, how to change a light, how to get rid of the mold in your bathroom, stuff like that. But it's just absolutely taken off because it's. I mean, if I don't know when this changed, but if I do a search on Google now, video is right up there at the top. And more and more people are just going straight for the video than clicking on a website to look at anything.
It's just so. I think a lot of it comes down to trust as well. I personally would tend to trust video more than I would just go randomly going onto websites now, just because of how the world's kind of shifted and changed. There's a lot of danger out there and on the internet. But whenever you've seen someone with the product and they're explaining the product to you, they're showing you how that product works, you get a lot more trust from that, and you think, well, he's got that. He's then got that from this shop. I'll go to that shop and get it because I know I'm getting the real McCoy.
It's similar to one of the main selling points we have when we're speaking to clients about video and building trust, and definitely having a human standing there talking to you that you can people buy from people. And sort of seeing someone that says, I'm going to talk you through this, and you're right, it's like, well, I like this guy, I've kind of formed a bit of a connection with him, it's a person speaking to me, and if he's going to use those types of tools, then I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and he's showing you it works. You know it works, and then you're going to make it work. You know,
Yeah.
where can you go wrong?
Mhm.
Essentially,
Mhm.
that's you just want that confidence, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes you get that through video.
Yeah. So kind of going to your day-to-day job, like what kind of things are you tasked with doing?
Yeah. So, well, over the year, are we talking over the years? Or are we talking just now? Or
Yeah, I think more now.
Yeah.
It's more interesting. Yeah.
So for now, what we do is we go in, we sit down. I've got a close team that work with me. We sit down and we're looking at basically how's that website doing now. I personally don't tend to look at the past because you can't affect it.
Right.
I'm looking at more what are we getting now and what are your competitors doing now and what can we achieve in the future. So the most important thing you can do with any kind of SEO, whether that's video or traditional SEO, is keyword research.
Right.
At the end of the day, the whole point that you're doing SEO and you're wanting to be in those top positions is because you want to hit that target market.
Yeah.
What's that target market searching for? So you go away and you get all your trends together from the search term, search term reports. What are people looking for? What are people actually
Yeah.
searching? And then how can we get ranking for that? So what you would then do is that's where your competitor research would come in. So you're looking around those keywords that you're wanting to be appearing for. Who's appearing for there now? Who's appearing for those keywords now? And how can you get there?
Mhm.
What are they doing differently to me? What do I need to do? And what can I do differently from them? Because it's all right getting to a point where you're level with them, but you need to get yourself above them.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've also got to exploit those gaps.
Mhm.
So we then go away and we all put our ideas together, get a plan put together, plan of attack,
Mhm.
basically, and how we're going to go around getting that. One of the most important things that I think is get the technical SEO done first. Because if you think about it, it's all well and good putting all that content out there, that content that you've got ranking. But if you're going to a website that doesn't work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's pointless,
Yeah.
So get that website in order, get your technical aspect done. So your heading tags, your meta tags, your descriptions, all the boring stuff that nobody really wants to talk about, but the boring stuff in that back end, get all of that sorted out first, and then put your nice fluffy content on there. Put your nice colourful themes, get on those featured snippets, get the videos out there that are going to get people to the site. But the most important thing is make sure your site works.
Yeah.
Or, people are going to click. What's going to happen is people are going to click on your site. It's not going to load up in time because you've probably got about 3 seconds whenever someone's clicked on your site to the site loading up
Mhm.
before they're going to go, the site doesn't work, and they're just going to hit the back button.
Yeah.
So you've probably got about 3 seconds load time there to capture them,
Mhm.
and then you've got to get as much information as you can. I'm not saying fill that landing page full of rubbish,
Mhm.
but whenever you're on you'd go on a website would load up. So before you scroll, that's where you want to be having that information, because people start scrolling, people start getting bored with every scroll.
Uh-huh.
So make sure that you're informing that user
Mhm.
that they find what they're looking for,
Yeah.
and that's essentially what we do.
Alright.
We're putting that whole path together for the user.
Yeah. Well, I've got a question for you then to follow up. So I'm coming into route. Get me Martyn King. I've heard that he calls himself an expert in SEO.
I'll probably run away.
I'm just interested to know, like, as a potential client coming in, like, to you, what is a version of a good brief that I would give you
Mm-hmm.
versus a bad brief?
Well,
if I want SEO.
The first thing I've got to know from you is what do you actually want? What do you do? How are people finding you at the minute, and how do you want people to find you? People will come to you and they'll say, "I want SEO." I'll be like, "Yeah, of course, of course you do."
Video? No, my favourite is I want a viral video.
Yeah.
That's a bad brief for us.
Mhm. There's an awful lot, and I don't want to be disparaging or put people down, but you'll get a lot of people that will have this idea in their head of a price, and they'll come and they'll say, you can do it for 500 quid. And you're like, no, you can't. Like,
Yeah.
If you want something for 500 quid, let's say, for example, a classic one that I've seen, sorry to go off, and it's a bit irrelevant to your question, but a classic one I've seen before is someone then go to you, I'll pay you on results. I'll pay you when I'm at number one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, come and put my bathroom in,
Yeah.
and I'll pay for it after I have 500 baths.
I don't think it's disparaging at all. That's the reason I'm asking the question, because I think genuinely people, when they approach agencies for things like this, they don't necessarily know what a good brief is. So
No,
that's why I'm asking.
They don't. So what we tend to do is, I've worked in places in the past where you're just happy to get any kind of lead in, which isn't good for, the person that you're trying to sell to, or you. It's just not. It's not good enough. You need that communication. So first thing I would do is probably go into a room with you and say, right, what do you want? What's the problem you're having at the minute? So you've got a website there, you've got all that stock there, you think that's the best, but you can't get rid of it. So you want to be appearing to people that are then going to buy that stock, and that's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
You need SEO.
Yeah.
Are you trying to do that as quick as you can for as cheap as you can, or are you taking more of a longer term approach? If you're looking to do that as quick as you can, as cheap as you can, get rid of it and refill it, you're probably looking to go down more of a Google Ads way, where you're just going bang, bang, bang. If you're in it for the long game, where you want to be turning the profit and you need to keep that going, that you need to be going for more of that long game approach, where you're in the organic rankings and you're getting that trust, that brand trust as well. So that's where I would then say, you need to go down that SEO route. It depends so much on the client as well. All our clients are great. Of course, I'm going to say that, but all our clients are great.
I'll ask them off camera.
And each one has its own unique challenges.
Yeah,
it's like anything. So what I would say to agencies out there who might be watching this is, take each brief in its own unique form. It's quite easy to bung things into templates. Don't get me wrong, templates are good in parts.
Yeah.
However, I've seen some where they're just changing the words around on, they'll just change the client's name. It's not like that. You've got to take one of its own unique approach and look right into those deep dark corners that no one likes going to, and just rip it all out. And whenever someone comes to me and asks about SEO, I basically tell them that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to. You might not like it, because for a lot of these business owners and things, it's their baby. It is their baby, and you're telling them their baby's ugly, and it's not. No one wants to hear that.
Is that when the baby's like being born, or are we talking this baby's now grown up and is now like a teenager? Do you take briefs on from the very beginning, or do you also take like websites on board that have been set up for like 5 years and no one's touched them?
Yeah,
and then you've got to go through and kind of take it all apart and rebuild it.
I'd say I'm working with a guy at the minute who's just about to start his own business. So we're working on helping him with that. Where to put the call to actions, how the illustrations line up, where should you be putting contact forms, how many USPs and stuff should be putting on landing pages. So there's that aspect to it. Then we work with another one, Darlington Building Society, that's been around for years and years and years. So there's no time limit on SEO. What I say to people is, they'll always go, when should I start doing SEO? I'll go, yesterday. Because it's so important to the general people of the site. And what I find disappointing about SEO as well is, it's one of the first things that people are so keen to stop, or they've got marketing cuts, it's one of the first things I think, we'll cut the SEO, which is probably one of the worst things you can do, because it's once you start losing those rankings, it's so hard to get them back. And 9 times out of 10, your competitors have just copied what you've done and they've taken your place.
Interesting.
Well, what's the biggest mistakes that you see when people are trying to optimize for search?
So it's definitely got to be heading tags. we all know what H1 tags and the H2 tags. So whenever people are putting in titles on their content, a lot of people are very quick to, I don't know what an H1 tag is, so you'll just say I'm doing it for your film. You would just put your film into the heading tag. So every tag on the site then is your film, whenever each one of them is meant to be unique. So
just put a note down.
I was
changing the header tag of our website from your film to something else. What would you put in the header tag for that?
So I would simply take, what are we talking about? What's this piece of content about? So if I'm doing an air fryer recipe for, I don't know, homemade chips, I would then put my H1 tag as air fried homemade chips. You know, that kind of thing, because Google doesn't sit there and just read a page of content, as we were speaking earlier on, you know, about the robot. Google's not just sitting there reading a piece of content. Google's reading that from the tags and the meta descriptions that you're putting down. As we said earlier, it's a robot. It doesn't read like a human. So it's using all of that metadata, the tagging, alt tags, flags. It's using all of that to know what's within this piece of content. So the more unique information you can give Google, the easier it is for it to read, and then you're just ticking its boxes and get a big thumbs up, and you appear higher in the rankings.
So what's the difference between H1 and H2?
So there's not much. So your H1 would be about, you know, that main, say, it's hard to explain. So you've put a piece of content up on your page, you start talking. Say we're talking about that chip recipe. So your H1 would be your ingredients. Then your H2 would be how long do you put it in the air fryer for, and then 3 would be when do you shake your chips in the air fryer.
I'm really hungry.
I am salivating.
I have not any.
Tell them what the
the condiment.
Oh yeah, bit of ketchup, vinegar.
So it's just about how you break up the page. Would be your H1, 2, and 3s. So you go title H1, H2, H3.
That can just be as many as you need, but obviously there would be a maximum that you'd advise, like you wouldn't go past a certain point, because would it still crawl past there? Is it crawling everything?
It would crawl past there, but
ignore.
Who's going to read past there?
Do
you know, you've got to find the balance between your user and the robot. So if you put too much information on, because it's all kind of relative and tracked as well, you know, people are going to scroll so far. And there's only so much you can say before you bore someone. I know that.
2 hour away, lads, anyway. Just going back to video again. Again, kind of like what... I'm not asking for me, obviously, you know, for the audience, but what can people do with videos to kind of get them ranked higher?
Well, it's all about engagement. It's all about engagement, you know. When you're it's down to your viewership. That's what I would say. If I was setting up a video from scratch and I wanted it to get a ranking, I'd be like, what are people actually searching for? You know, one of the things would be, what's a common mistake when you're setting up videos, not doing your keyword research. A lot of people will go, this video is about SEO, so you'll just put up a video SEO. You know, well, how is someone going to find that video if you've just wrote SEO? You know, you've got to put yourself in the mindset of the shopper, so to speak, on YouTube, and you've got to think, what are they looking for? So I always use like a trainer's analogy. If I'm going to buy Adidas trainers, there are other brands are available. If I'm going to buy them, I'm not going to just type in trainers, am I? I'm going to type in the specific ones that I'm looking for, and the brand, the model, the type, what colour. You know, you're going to go a bit further. You've got to think about that with your videos as well. You know, what am I actually talking about here, and what is that person going to be looking for? When I spoke about the Zinser video, for example, about the mould on the roof, you know, you could do how to remove mould from your roof. Sounds simple. It sounds so simple, but the amount of people that don't think about it from that perspective, and they'll just put what they're talking about rather than what someone's looking for, is is massive, and it's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah.
Very easy mistake to make. We do it in all aspects of life. We make those simple mistakes, but the knock-on effect from that is huge.
Yeah.
And do you think when you go back with that kind of information, how many clients listen to you, just out of interest?
With the client side of things, I'd say they do listen.
They do.
They do listen. They provide very good. The clients that we have do listen to us because we've built up that trust over time.
And you're a professional, so that's what they're paying for.
That's exactly, and that's exactly it. And that's what I would urge people to remember as well, is that, you know, whenever you are speaking to people, you know, if they're not giving you the answer that you want to hear, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, that means that you've got a good relationship with them, and, you know, they're not afraid to say. There's a lot of people out there that'll go, oh yeah, I think that's a great idea, when they know full well it's going to fall. But they just don't want to upset the person doing it. I know I personally, if I was in business and someone told me, if you went to your bank manager saying, you say, I want £1 million, you'd probably go, it's probably not a good idea. You know? I don't think you should be spending that kind of money on that.
Yeah.
You'd probably go, I'm probably going to listen to him because he's a bank manager. It's the same with people advising you on your website as well.
Yeah.
We're there to help. We're not going to tell you that, yes, you're going to hit those targets. People will come to you with mad targets. Don't be afraid to say to them,
I just can't get it.
I think that's a bit unachievable. Because what you're doing is you're A, saving them the heartache down the road of they haven't hit that target that you promised them, and B, you're saving yourself a problem down the road as well. Because if you do yes, no, or if you just go yes, 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 yes all the way through, you've probably got a client there for 6 months. Whereas if you go, that's probably not a good idea, and you choose a different tact which works along the lines that you're saying, you're probably going to have a client for life because they trust you and you've proven that you know what you're talking about.
Just wondering, because like in the past we've advised, we're probably not clients anymore, of like video and what we would prefer to do and should be doing from a technical point of view, you know, whatever it might be, from how it looks to what we're filming it on, how it's going to be delivered. And they sometimes do ignore us, don't they? Like, we'll say like, really, you shouldn't be filming it on your phone in a dark room with a back towards the camera. That's probably not going to fit in with the stuff we've just recorded at
definitely. We're probably quite similar to yourself, where sometimes we have clients that come in and they're very open and they'll just describe a problem that they have and say, what should we do? Whereas you get the other side where people come in with a very fixed idea of a video, an exact video they want to make, and you always give your best advice, but it's not always taken, and you know, maybe we're not right all the time. I don't know.
No,
it's possible, isn't it?
I think it's one of these things where yours is, as Kev said, like a dark art. It's something going on in the background that maybe some people can't really understand, whereas video is, there's something there in front of them that they can see. Like, this is what you're doing is all like happening in the background to make what they've got better and rank higher and sell their products, and it's like a mystery how it actually works and how you deliver it. Whereas ours is kind of like,
I think they both have the same end goal, which is there's a lot of noise out there. How are you going to stand out amongst the noise? So whether that's making sure you're high up on the rankings when the specific search goes in, that your exact target client is going to type into Google, and then just because you're there, then you've still got work to do. So why are they going to click on you versus even the other 8 they can see on the page? Is it because there's a video there? Right, well, how long's the video? 10 minutes, I'm not watching that. Is the thumbnail attractive? So it's all just like, how do you kind of peek your head up above enough for them to click on you? And then even then, as you said, Martyn, if they go to your website, like, I can't believe that took 4 seconds to load. That can piss right off. I'm away. There was loads of other ones there. So yeah, it's just like you said, it's kind of trying to, as much as possible, put yourself in the shoes of who's going to buy that thing you're selling, and making the path just nice and easy for them to do.
There's so many examples I've seen over the years of that, where you're getting the wrong person to the site. Because you've got to think of the audience. I remember speaking to the guy before. He sold polo shirts. Well, he told me he sold polo shirts, and he goes, "I'm getting thousands on my site, but I'm not selling anything." And what I did was went into the Google Analytics, and I seen what in the search console, and I seen what he was appearing for, and it was like, "Yeah, you're appearing for polo shirts." So you're not selling polo shirts. You're selling polo shirts for 45 quid. You're selling designer polo shirts. So you're getting people that are coming through looking for, cheap polo shirts, maybe for work.
Yeah.
Like a Fruit of the Loom polo, for example.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But you're selling these for 45, 50 quid, or, upwards. You're selling designer polos and you're not appearing for it because you've got nothing on your site saying it as a designer polo.
Right.
And that's why you're getting an awful lot of traffic through, but you're not hitting the right audience.
And like a lot of good advice, it's obvious once you hear it, isn't it?
Yeah. 100%. I've seen it as well. Just as another example, someone that sold contact lenses. They made a massive mistake around bonfire night time or Halloween fancy dress, because they just sold contact lenses that you wore, normal contact lenses, and then the Halloween came round. And people were looking for, the contact lenses for fancy dress.
Yeah.
So obviously then, because of the massive surge in people looking for those around Halloween, around fancy dress time, they spent a fortune on their Google ads because they completely misjudged what they were actually appearing for.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And that's why you've just got to be so careful with that keyword research that we spoke about.
Yeah.
Back on video, if that's all right.
Yeah.
It's kind of our thing, I'm just interested in just other things that kind of help video rank better. So obviously duration is one, and thumbnails and tags and stuff. Can you just talk to a little bit more about like?
Yeah, of course. Thumbnails is really important because it shows the user what they're actually going to see before they've clicked on it. It's how you're going to draw them in. So I would be making sure that you're within that thumbnail, you're kind of giving them an example of exactly what they're about to watch, which is quite difficult. Bearing in mind, it's normally just a video of or a picture of three guys sat in a room.
Yeah.
And it's quite difficult. So I would maybe try and work something into that thumbnail that just explains exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
One thing I have noticed recently within the video space is the YouTube are very big on accessibility. Now, because obviously, people that can't hear so well and things, they'll use subtitles and they'll use those closed captions. So I would 100% recommend to anyone putting videos out at the minute to ensure you've got the subtitles and the closed captions on there. Google looking very favourably upon that.
Yeah.
In terms of the title as well, it comes back to what we spoke about, just about getting that title right. And also making sure that you're uploading those videos in MP4 and 1080p. That's going to be the way in which you're going to immediately get favour with YouTube in terms of the rankings.
Why MP4?
Because it's the highest quality. Again, it comes back to what we were saying, similar to the Google searches, that they want people to keep going back there, and they can then serve ads to people because they keep watching those videos.
Yeah.
People are going to want to watch a video of good quality, a good 4K video, essentially.
Yeah.
They're going to watch that video. They're going to get served more ads. People are then going to go off to those other websites and buy things. They're going to keep on advertising on YouTube, and it just feeds that circle of video marketing.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's quite a lot of content on YouTube, sort of educational content, to explain to you exactly everything you can do to kind of boost your rankings and stuff, more than you would ever be able to read in your lifetime. But yeah, it's it's an interesting one for us because when we first started using YouTube, it was your film started in the same year that YouTube did, 2005.
Right.
20 years ago. The videos were 4:3 square, and it was a bit like Vine. It was all just like silly, funny videos. And back then we were still saying to businesses like, you should be putting your content on there. Like, I'm not putting it on there. It's blocked in our building anyway. You know, it's just a time wasting thing.
It's cats on skateboards.
Yeah, it kind of was. But we personally use YouTube more as a our portfolio, really, because most of the videos on there, 99.9% of the videos on there, aren't about us. It's obviously their videos we've made for clients.
Yeah.
So we've never tried very hard to kind of do SEO on any of the videos, because they just kind of serve as, there's a link if someone wants to watch a video that we've done. Weirdly, our highest viewed video is a video we did about 12 years ago for a company that sells tyres, car tyres. And it was a video showing you how to check your tread depth with a 20p piece.
Yeah, right, okay.
And it's just got, the views are just insane. Because obviously it's just naturally kind of, people
It's just naturally took off. I suppose that's actually probably a really good concept to do in that video. If you think about it, you're always going to have a coin on you, aren't you?
Right.
So you can use that coin to check your tire depths. It's quite easier than ones that are running around with spirit levels and rulers. Yeah. That you're not exactly carrying on you all the time. Yeah. So it's about finding that's a good niche to get into. Yeah. What I find surprising there is, you say that with the YouTube side of things, that it's not, you don't really have many of your own videos on there. You use it more as a portfolio side. But that's what you do. You do the videos. So advertise your videos. That's what people will want to see, and that's how people are going to.
What's this podcast is probably the only thing that we would really try to do SEO on. And I mean, it is niche.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm expecting to get 1 million views, although that would be lovely to have the golden YouTube sign on the wall. But yeah, it's something. We'll maybe start you after we finish recording. Have a look at some of the H1s and H2s.
They do have those within the videos as well.
What about duration then? Because duration and video is obviously like a massive consideration, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's like anything, it's constantly being monitored by YouTube. So if YouTube's watching a video and it sees that everybody's leaving after 3 minutes because A, they've got all the information they want, or B, they're bored out of their skull, they're going to downgrade that. And that's also where that relies on you guys as well to be constantly updating the video as well. I'm not saying in there every day, but making those slight tweaks for your users. If you can see parts, this bit's irrelevant. It's people are skipping through this part, so just edit the video bit, clip it down, trim it, take that bit out, and you might find that it's got a higher engagement rate, and you then take out that chunk where people are dropping off. In terms of duration, again, it doesn't matter how long it is, as long as you're keeping people engaged. And you're keeping that user on there. What I would say is those first 24 to 48 hours are the most critical time on YouTube, because of the competition on there and the time that you've got to get people engaged. It's probably the equivalent to 6 to 12 months in terms of a website. That 24 to 48 hours, because that'll make or break you. Whenever I speak to people about SEO for their website, you're probably saying, it's going to take about 6 months before you start seeing those initial results. I'd be expecting it within 48 hours on YouTube. I really would.
I quite like the fact that YouTube kind of, so for longer form content, so something like this podcast, which might be about an hour long, it's a big ask for someone to come across this kind of willy-nilly and go, I'll give them an hour, see if it's interesting. So I quite like the fact that they've got the shorts, which kind of allows you to just pull some clips out with some highlights, and then actually use that as an ad for the longer form thing and point people towards that, because the shorts, like we were just saying before we started recording, YouTube definitely give them a huge boost in terms of, and it's usually in the first sort of like 10 minutes of it going live. They'll turn the tap on and put it in quite a lot of people's feeds, but it's just testing the waters. It's like if no one engages with this at all, tap goes off and that's it, you're done. You're done. So it's pretty ruthless.
It's essentially a chance for you to put your highlights on there, isn't it?
Yeah.
and then come watch this.
Yeah.
You know, you see it all the time with.
Do us a favour, just throw your glass of water in my face.
There's some people that are they're masters at it, especially with podcasts. You know, I've been sucked into it before, where I've seen, oh, that's really funny, I'm going to watch that podcast, and then you go to watch it and there's that joke again. That's the only funny bit in it. You know, so they can suck you in. So it's all about, you know, utilizing that to your advantage, but you have to keep that. You have to keep that person coming back, keeping that retention and keeping that user engaged.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, the reason you're putting videos up there is for people to watch. You're not doing it for much else. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get the benefit if people aren't watching it, so you've got to get people to the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. I had to do something. You said, it just reminded me of when I had to cut trailers for the horror channel.
Right.
It used to be served the video, the film from whenever it was, which was terrible, and somehow I had to find the golden nuggets from that film, cut it together to get people to watch that.
How do you
film.
make Pumpkinhead 3 look good?
Oh my god,
it's a tough one.
What was it? Romeo and Juliet or something like that. Oh, I'm having flashbacks.
I do not envy you for that, because there's an awful lot of watch through to clip that down.
Yeah. Interesting.
So moving away from video, very quickly, what's your thoughts on sort of, and I'm going to use this phrase, AI versus search engine?
Yeah.
Because we use ChatGPT here, and some of us are quite deep into it and use it every day. And it's interesting how quickly a lot of us started using it instead of Google.
I sit on the fence with this one. I like AI. I think it's got a massive future within all aspects of online marketing and traditional marketing as well. My worry is that if you're using ChatGPT, for example, for content, it's a bad idea. If you're using it for technical aspects of SEO, 100% brilliant idea.
Right.
Because what you're doing is you're speeding things up for yourself, and then you can also pass on, you know, you can then move hours away from your technical SEO and put that into the content that you need to write. My problem with using the likes of ChatGPT for writing content is we all know how intelligent ChatGPT is. Have you ever taken a piece of your ChatGPT, put it back in, and said, "Did you write this?" Have you ever done that?
Not asked that particular question. No.
It'll say it wrote it. It's only a matter of time. If you can remember when we were talking about black hat SEO in the earlier on in the conversation, it's only a matter of time before Google create a robot that's going to do that.
Right.
It's going to look, is this content written by a robot or is it written by a person? Because you can tell yourself whenever you're reading stuff sometimes that it's written by ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Google won't like that because there's only so much that it can write before it's all the same.
Is that dead internet theory?
Yeah.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Where it's basically the idea that eventually the internet is just, there's nothing real there anymore. It's all just kind of created artificially.
And obviously that's what Google doesn't want.
Yeah, well, because quality's gone, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's all fake.
But I think AI is brilliant and it's a really good concept if used, you know, in the correct manner.
Yeah.
If you're using that to make advances from a technological standpoint, brilliant. If you're doing it to be lazy, you're probably going to get found out.
Yeah. Interesting,
Yeah, definitely.
Any other final questions before we wrap up, Mark?
I was just
been
going to ask.
Really interesting, by the way.
Yeah, very interesting. I was just going to ask so AI from a technical point of view, in relation to what you guys do. You're saying there it can be beneficial. Do you see it encroaching, like, on your job then?
No, I wouldn't say so, because you still need that human element. It's like anything, you know, someone's got to point the robot in the right direction. I wouldn't say that it's in any danger of taking over that aspect of marketing anytime soon.
Yeah.
If anything, it's going to be to our benefit because it lets us explore more areas and more challenges,
Yeah.
and it can be like our Swiss Army knife, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the way I would view it.
Yeah. Interesting.
A lot of
Similar for us,
people
I think.
will get, like panicked by like it's going to take my job, you know.
It's efficiencies, I think, for us
Mhm.
more than anything. It's and I think this should be the goal for AI across the board, is to kind of be able to give it the mundane tasks
Mm-hmm.
to do,
Exactly.
and yeah, like you say, kind of free you up to do the more interesting stuff.
That's what you've got to do as well, and I think that also comes back to how you are as a person. You know, if you apply yourself and you try and do the job to your best of ability, then you will utilize AI in the right way.
Yeah,
If you know you're just trying to rush things or you can't be bothered to go that extra mile, you're probably going to get the results you deserve. You know,
yeah,
it's like anything, you get out what you put in.
yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Well, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up, Martyn? Anything you want to say? Anyone you want to say hello to?
No. What I will say is, though, SEO is not a dark art. I will say that. And what I will say in passing as well is that for people that are out there and they're looking for jobs within marketing and they think they haven't got degrees, so they can't get into it, you can.
Mm-hmm.
You 100% can. I've only got GCSEs. I've been in this a long time. Get yourself a foot in the door and you'll be in this industry for life. It's going nowhere.
Here. And don't forget to check out episode 1 of the TriPOD, where I say a very similar thing, but in terms of our industry as well.
Yeah.
Degrees definitely aren't everything, especially for the price these days.
There's those ones during COVID where they were essentially paying, was it about 17 grand for a Netflix subscription or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. That we could do another podcast on that. Don't get us started.
Yeah. No, but that's been really interesting. Yeah, really enjoyed that one. Thanks for coming in.
No problem.
Cheers, Martyn.
Anytime.
And thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps you out. And thanks. And see you later.
Thank you.
Bye.